Happy Friday, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business, where we bring you secrets and hacks and strategies to boost your business and fulfill your calling on the planet. And today, you all, I am thrilled to have here with us Sheryl Plouffe, who is the creator, the co-founder of the ICONMAKER program, along with Tom Matson and some other folks. And she is also running the program for seven-figure podcasters. So she is a podcasting expert who can help you take it to a whole nother level. You know, podcasters usually don't monetize, but Sheryl helps you do that. So Sheryl, I want to say welcome to the show.
Hey, Barnsley, great to be with you. Yes, I'm excited to get into this discussion. And yeah, thanks so much for having me. I wish that Tom and Danella could be here with me, but I'm going to be flying solo today and representing ICONMAKER, our joint venture together that we started in 2023. And just excited to be able to serve people in the capacity of helping them to build sustainable seven-figure businesses with podcasting. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about podcasting, I'm sure, but focusing a little bit more on one of the aspects of how we help our clients to develop, well, we're going to call it not necessarily guarantees, although that's in the title of this episode today, is really talking more about strategic risk reversal offers and what that means and how that can actually be an advantage to you in your business.
And this is fabulous because we both know that right now it's a culture of distrust. And in fact, there's some reasons for that, definitely, because there have been people who haven't delivered what they promised. And so risk reversal is an important strategy for anyone who wants to scale their business and wants to just grow exponentially. So I love the way that you and Tom and Danella have set this up in your program, in your ICONMAKER program. You have a really interesting way of setting it up. But first, let's just talk about what you see as the trends in guarantees that people are using and why they don't work as well.
I really don't see what the way that we're doing it is not the trendy thing at all. In fact,
Right.
I think we're the anomaly in
You
the
are.
industry, right? Most people are not doing what I'm about to explain today. And that is maybe part of the problem. I think that there's always been I don't want to say trend, but there's always been this sort of guarantee piece that marketers and business owners have added into their programs, right? It's like, I guarantee your results. And that has come about in a variety of different iterations. It's like, well, I'll guarantee your results or you get your money back, or I'll guarantee your results or you don't pay me, or pay me now, but if you don't get results, I'll give you your, you know what I mean? I'll give you a portion of your money back. Or if you prove you've done the work, you get a portion back. Like, people have gotten creative around how they've utilized these guarantees to help people get results. The problem, though, with it is that it doesn't work most times, right? It's just not the way to really be able to stay in the place of being committed to your clients actually getting results in a program. And that's where strategic risk reversal is different, in that it's actually taking the risk off of the client and putting it on the mentor,
Exactly.
right? On the business owner, who is taking on the bulk of and it really isn't a risk if you yourself know that you actually are getting people results in your program. So There's a lot to uncover there, but I don't even really think it's a trend. I think it's something that we've added and included, these guarantees, over the course of many, many years. And I don't think it's as effective.
Yes, right. Yours is not a trend. Absolutely. Yours is the anomaly. So something I see a lot is exactly what you noted about people saying you can have your money back if you don't get results, but you have to prove you've done everything in the program. And there's a big problem with this. I know you've seen, as I have seen, contracts that were so long. And if you're going to prove that, it's going to take you forever, really. So nobody's going to use that guarantee. And in fact, when I see a guarantee like that, I just say in my head, I would never do that. So it's, I'm investing this money and I may lose it, in my head. That's immediately what happens, right? And so the burden of proof, that kind of guarantee where someone who is in the program is going to have to show they went to everything, they did everything, they crossed their T's and dotted their I's, and then they may get something back if they didn't have a return. That is a trend I see, but it's not effective, because when we read it, we think, and what happens is a kind of resentment on the part of the person. If someone does have an issue and they have to provide all that proof, they're going to be resentful. It's like having a tax audit.
Well, you bring up a good point. I think that there's two things that come to my mind. One is the difference between a contract and an agreement, right? Typically, if you're working in the space of the guarantees that we've been talking about so far, those are like more contractual. They're like legal contracts. And there is a negative sort of vibe going on there with those contracts and those legal contracts, because it's like we're almost setting ourselves up for, if things don't go right, here's what's going to happen. We're going to have to litigate, we have to go to court, we have to sue people, things like that. The agreement is something much more positive. It's saying, hey, why don't we band together in a win-win scenario? We'll have an agreement by which to work. And this agreement will actually be built so that that we're both dedicated to you getting results in this program. It's a much more positive vibe, even at the onset of going into the program. It's not a contract, it's an agreement of how we're going to engage and how we're going to work together to help you get results. So I think that's one thing, right? The difference between the contract and the agreement. But the other side of it too is it's just like around being committed to someone's results. And I have to, full disclosure, Barnsley, full disclosure, I haven't always known about strategic risk reversal. I've only known about strategic risk reversal since I met Tom Matson. It's
a pretty new thing. It's not very well known.
I didn't know that.
It's not new, but it's not well known.
Yeah. I didn't. When I learned it from him, when I learned about it as we started our joint venture and we started doing what we did in acquiring Steve Olsher's assets from Podcast Magazine to ICONMAKER and the Ultimate Directory of Podcasters and New Media Summit, all these things, I came to learn about this strategy. And when I learned it and really listened in, I had to hear it a couple of times before I really got it. But when I got it, I went, oh, wow, where has this been my entire life? Where has this been in my entire life? Because it truly would have made a huge difference, because I didn't know any better. I, like many people, were offering guarantees and doing the best that I could with what knowledge I had about what to do. But now that I know this, I see I will never go back to the old way. This is 100% the way to do it, because it means that you are saying, hey, listen, I'm so confident in the results I'm going to get you that I'm willing to only have you pay me a portion, or usually the majority portion of the fee for this program when you get the results. You're not paying me in advance and then there's some kind of guarantee that if you don't get it, I give you your money back. No, you don't even pay me until you get the results. That's very, very different.
It's very powerful. It does create that collaborative team orientation, and it's a motivator for both the person running the program and for the person in the program. Right. I've got this I've got this team really on my side. It's a motivator for everybody. So I love it. It's almost like I was thinking about real estate. What would be the equivalent in real estate? And it's like having a vested interest in a rental that's gonna, the property manager is going to earn a certain amount based on how frequently that rental is rented. And so they are motivated to market it. They're motivated to do everything necessary on behalf of the owner. So it's kind of a similar thing in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think it's powerful.
Yeah. And I was going to say that, when we have workshops, we do philanthropic workshops. And during the workshop, Tom actually tells a great story as an example, as a case study to the idea of building strategic risk reversal. I won't do the story justice, so I won't repeat the story because I'll mess up some of the detail. But he tells a great story of a real estate agent in Calgary, Alberta, who utilized this strategy. And I think she did an untold number of deals within the next 30 or 60 days of her real estate practice because of the risk reversal. So if anyone listening or watching ever comes to one of our workshops in the future, he does tell that story, and it's pretty amazing.
Oh, yes. And you all should definitely go to one of their workshops. That's how I met Sheryl and Tom. It was excellent. And I do intend to go to your ICONMAKER event. I am planning on that as well. They have some excellent programs with really lots of information, and not, even when it's a free webinar. And, I despise those webinars where you go and you get no good information. Basically, it's a pitch fest.
Yeah.
So that's something I really appreciated about you all. Well, I know that people in your program, while we're mentioning ICONMAKER before we go back to risk reversal, but these are interrelated because people in your program are having outstanding results. And that, again, shows that this works. The risk reversal guarantee works. So tell us a little bit about some of the results of folks in your program.
Yeah, well, we have several clients who are creating and have created $100,000 programs, and they've sold many of them. Many of them. We have one client who has it's a $50,000 program, although he's the anomaly in that price range. We typically don't. We really have 3 price points that we fully get behind and support, and then there's some outliers. Very rarely. It's either 10,000, 25,000, or 100,000. But most of our clients are doing $100,000 programs, and a good number are doing 25,000. And if you're also doing the $10,000 range. So depending on what the program entails, depending on what the big outcome is, who it's for will determine, and also the number of done for you services within the program to get them that ultimate outcome would determine the price point. It doesn't matter whether it's 10, 25, or $100,000 program, they are all risk reversed. Mm-hmm. And so the breakdown of that might look like, for example, with a $100,000 program, it would be 12.5% upfront, so $12,500 to get started in the program. But every subsequent payment in the program would not be paid to, in our case, like, let's say ICONMAKER or whoever has that program, unless they get the identified milestones or reach those financial milestones as they go through the program. Because the concept is, yes, there's always going to be skin in the game to get started in a program. But from the second payment on, the program should be self-funded. Like, you should be self-funded in the progression of your time in that program, and it shouldn't have to cost you more than you're making in sales of your program, for example, going forward. So that's kind of the concept of it. But in terms of results, gosh, we've had, I think collectively right now, we might be sitting at 1.6 million in booked deals through the clients that we've worked with in various programs in those price points to this point.
Nice. And I know you had some folks who were fairly new in the program who had incredible results, generating 800,000 of business in just a few months, and there are always going to be the superstars, and then they're going to be people who are not exactly at the highest level. And that's okay, because we all have stuff going on in our lives. You all listening, stuff's going to happen in life. And sometimes you have to slow down a little bit, and that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. But it's so nice to have a team behind you who can help you stay on track and really focus your efforts so you're not wasting time. And this is why I'm always talking about the power of coaching, the power of mentorship, the power of a program that's comprehensive. And I think you all really have that program for people who want to be the 7-figure podcaster, and want to avoid having a podcast that usually dies out within, say, the first 50 episodes, which happens to so many of them.
We crafted this program to be, as you said, comprehensive, so that someone wouldn't have to seek out other elements that are missing in other places in order to make it work. So what we said is, what would it take to get someone to 7 figures in 2 years or less, guaranteed? And the lens through which we see that is with podcasting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we started. We started with the end in mind. It's like, okay, so this is the goal, is to help someone build a sustainable 7-figure business in 2 years or less. We want to guarantee those results. We want to do it through podcasting. What needs to happen? And so you reverse that and you say, okay, let's figure that out. And then you map it out and you say, okay, well, they're going to need this. They're going to need that. They need that. They need this. And then we got to do that. And so that's really what we did. And then we put that into the proven 5-stage framework of a high ticket offer, and then start to manipulate that and say, okay, so this goes in this stage. This goes in this stage. This is the result of this stage. Now they move into that part. Now this is when the mastermind kicks in. And so you are essentially blueprinting, we call it blueprinting, and creating a program description, a path forward for how that's going to happen. And we do that again, and from an investment perspective, with a strategic risk reversal, so that the client isn't on the hook to pay the entire program unless they get that result.
Mm. Now, is the program 12 months or is it 2 years?
2 years. 2 years or less.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Gotcha. And so you really have it planned out. So it's going to take them through those milestones. And so basically they take care of the $12,500 up front. All right. This is a model, you all, that you can think about with a $100,000 program. They're taking care of 12.5%, the $12,500 up front. And then each month, how much are they paying? Is it a percentage? How do you work that out, Sheryl?
Right. So there isn't. And that's where the mind meld is. You're like, wait a minute. What do you mean? Right. The 12,500 can be paid as a, and some people do. Some people come into a program like this and say, here's my 12,500 and I pay in full. And usually you will want to incentivize someone and give, there's something, if someone pays in full, there's an incentive to do that. Sometimes people will pay that 12,500 out in other ways. Right. So without getting into details, it could be payments. It could be that they raise the money and they raise the capital. There could be all kinds of scenarios for which that happens. Sometimes people have investments that they would do for it, or they have an inheritance, or it could be any number of scenarios. So aside from that amount, it's not a time-based approach to building the program in this manner. So what happens a lot of times, people think, okay, well, then how will that be done in terms of like, how much does that mean every month? It's not really about that. It's saying, here's what it costs to get started in this program. And until you reach that next echelon, you don't owe us another dime. When they get to that next part, ideally, and then this comes back to how you've crafted your program, you craft it in such a way that ideally that client has gotten a financial result greater than what's owed at that next stage in order for them to move into the next stage. So using us as an example, at ICONMAKER with 7-figure podcaster program, the first stage is all about building their high ticket offer, helping them to validate that offer, and filling their founder circle. Mm-hmm. So in other words, selling it, building it and selling it. So they're at a point where they make money, they're selling their program, that if they want to, and they're going to move, clearly they're going to move into the next stage because they're excited, probably have never received or gotten results like this before in any other program. So coming back to what I said earlier, between contract and agreement, the positive side of this being that we're working together, the client is excited to pay that next step because they're like, wow, this is actually working. Who knew I could invest in a high ticket program that actually got results? Novel idea, isn't it? And so they're like, here, take my money. What does it take to get me into the second stage? Right? I've made more I've had more benefit than I'm paying you to get into the next stage. And the next stage is going to unlock more growth, more momentum, more results. And so now they're on a path of momentum throughout the 5 stages of the program in 2 years or less, in our case, so that they can get to the ultimate outcome of $1 million in their business.
I love it. That's fabulous. And $1 million in their business per year, $1 million in the 2 years. What are we, $1 million annually?
Well, we say like the goal in our program, again, depends on what, and I don't want to, I'm only using us as the example because it's the one that I know so intimately,
Yes.
right? But if you just, the way that you determine the length of the program is by determining take your top 20% of your clients, the people that are in it to win it, the people that are listening, the people that are the action takers, they're doing it even if they're unsure, you know what I mean? Like they're not sitting there overthinking it and mired in perfectionism and all those things, right? They're doing the things. Those top 20% of people, you have to ask yourself, how long will it take me to get those 20% of the people the result intended? And if the answer is, realistically, if they do everything I tell them to do in the order in which I tell them to do it, it'll take about a year for them to get that result. If that's your answer to that question, then you double it and you make your program 2 years long.
Nice. I love that formula.
Yeah, because you want, and so the answer might be, oh, it's going to take 1.5 years to get that result. Then you make your program 3 years. We don't recommend going beyond 3 years for a program. If you're going beyond that, you likely need to cut down what you're doing in the program and break it up. But that's how we determine what the length of the program ought to be.
I love that. That's fabulous. So those of you listening, think about this in terms of your programs that you're offering or programs that you're in. Think about that and think about the price points that Sheryl indicated they stand behind, like 10K, 25K, and 100K. Which I know you've got research for that. I know you and I talked about that before. You have some research to back up those numbers. So those of you who are listening, I'm sure you're thinking, wow, that's pretty amazing that I could get to 1 million sustainable, hopefully, per year, right? Within 2 years. Those of you who are thinking or who are listening, I'm sure you're thinking, wow. And Sheryl, what would you say to somebody who says to you, well, there's no way that can be real? There's no way, because I'm just hearing the skeptical person, right, in my head right now.
Yeah,
There's no
I know.
way that can be real.
Well, I mean, there's a few ways to look at that. I mean, if it's been done by someone else, then it can be done, right? Like, I mean, it's not impossible. Like, it's been done. We just talked about, a whole number of people in our own program who've done it. We've done it. So if it's been done, why can't it be done by you? What usually happens, though, Barnsley, and I'm sure you can attest to this, it's all the junk that's between the ears of whether our belief system can take us to that place where we truly believe we can do it. Like, its skill set is one thing, and high ticket offers are really predicated on skills, right? Building some skills, keeping people accountability, and mentorship. That's really what the core of a high ticket program is. It's not information. It's not even really education. It's about building in those mechanisms by which you can, because those are the accelerants that help people actually get results in a program. But it's often the noise in our own minds that keeps us from being able to step into that place. We have people in our program even now who have stepped up and said, yes, I want to do this. And even they still struggle a little bit with the mindset of belief around, can I do this? And is this going to happen? It is challenging to change the way you've thought. And especially if you come from a world where you have had no examples of anyone in your life who've ever accomplished anything like that. If you've never been surrounded by people or that type of environment where that is possible, and you're leading that charge, if you're the one, who's going out there and breaking the mold. I think Ed Milet talks a lot about that, right? About breaking the mold and you being the one that's going out there and doing that. It can be challenging. It can be really challenging depending on your background and maybe even your childhood.
Raising the bar is not an easy thing, and
No.
kicking down the walls of your comfort zone is not easy either. And I agree with you that it does start in the mind. And I'm thinking in my business at times that I've up leveled, and really it was hugely a leap of faith. It was extremely uncomfortable. But one thing I was really clear about was how much I wanted to create. I was very clear about that, which is one of the reasons I have my program be helping, new aspiring business owners, like in the first few years of their business, soar into six figures and more. Yeah. Right. And my folks are usually solopreneurs. And so for many of them, even the jobs they worked before, they made nothing close to 100,000. Right. But right. When you get to a certain level, then you see that there's not that much of a jump to another level, right? It's just as much work, I believe, Sheryl, to 10x where you are now as it is to 10x 100,000. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. There's when you get to a certain point where you realize that it's actually more difficult, takes more time, more energy, more effort to stay small and to play in a smaller arena than it does to go big. There's more opportunity, scale, growth, momentum, the bigger you go. And we'll use bigger relative to whatever that is for you who's watching or listening, right? It's like whether that's a 6-figure result or a 7-figure result or 8 or 9, right? It doesn't, whatever that is for you. The truth is, though, as you've pointed out, the majority of people are below 6 figures. The majority of coaches, consultants, and entrepreneurs are sitting in that place. And so getting to a 6-figure milestone is a huge accomplishment. Very few people statistically do that, right?
Do you know how many women, Sheryl? Oh my God.
I think I do know. Yes, I think the statistic is.
I just looked this up. Well, my statistic
2%, isn't it? Isn't it 2%?
This is from a few years ago. This was a clear thing I could get. 88% of women business owners never reach it to 6 figures. Never reach 6 figures. 88%. So that means
I would have thought higher.
12% may get into 6 figures. Now, again, that's from a couple of years ago. And so, you all, we're talking about, this is a very small percentage of people, and it makes all the difference who we're hanging around with. We've all got those friends. I just realized this with the networking group I've been part of. I realized, oh gosh, not going to work anymore. Not going to work anymore for me, because I would guarantee that probably most people in there aren't making more than 50,000. And we have to look where we're associating. Who are we associating with, and what kind of ideas do they have? Are they the sort of person that says, yeah, you want to do this, go for it, and I'll front you some of the money, or go for it and just get a home equity line, whatever? Or are they the kind of person who says, oh, well, that's not going to work. Oh, I don't believe you can have a 7-figure business with podcasting as whatever or you can't have a 6-figure business doing healing work or whatever it is, and those naysayers are usually very close to us. And as you point out, they're up here in our heads. So we've got to up level our conception of ourselves before we're willing to step into a larger arena.
Yeah. One of the things that makes me most proud is when someone steps up who they themselves haven't ever accomplished the $100,000 milestone, haven't reached it or crossed it. Yeah. And they step into a place where they say, you know what, there's no reason why I can't have a $100,000 offer.
I love that.
Love that.
I'll love that. I have thought about a $100,000. I'm just going to be, because on Bold Badass Business, we're real. I've thought about $100,000 offer, and I was like, whoa, it just boggled my head. And part of me just really loves the work I do. Well, a huge part of me with the people who are starting out. Like, I love that. It just
I
feeds me,
know, I know, it feeds me too. The thing that I love about the strategic risk reversal as it pertains to maybe that person who is like, "Well, who am I? How am I going to have $100,000 program if I've
Yeah,
never even
exactly.
cracked 100,000 myself? Who am I to do that?" The
Perfect
strategic risk
question.
reversal. Yeah, it's a valid question. The reason why this is great for especially that person is because you're not asking that person to put up $100,000.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? You're asking that person to have some skin in the game. And I gave the example of whatever,
Mhm.
percentage that might be that you wanted to be. Typically, we would say 12.5% to get started in a $100,000 program. If you're doing a $25,000 program, you're asking for 6,250 for that person to start with you. Well, now, if you are struggling with that thinking of who am I to do this, it becomes a lot more doable because you're not asking for that person to pony up 25,000 or $100,000 to work with you. You're making it more not only palatable or if you will, doable for them, but for you if you're struggling with that mindset, right?
And you're committing to them. You
And
are
you are
committing
committing
that
to
it
them.
really is a marriage. This is going to be a marriage. You're going to go the long distance. It's not going to be a one night stand, which unfortunately I would say there are a number of programs out there that are glorified one night stands. You're in a program, you enroll from that program, you throw a lot of money in, maybe 50,000, 70,000, whatever it is,
Mhm.
and don't get the results. And a lot of the people that I see, they have come out of that. So they have even more distrust. And so those of you listening, this is really a good way to mitigate that distrust and to make it available to someone who maybe doesn't have that, they don't have that 100,000 sitting around, or they don't have access to a loan that will give them 100,000.
Right.
But they do have ways that they could create or, fund the 12,500.
Yeah.
So Sheryl, what are some of the other elements of risk reversal that you all think are essential in these guarantees
Yeah.
that you
So,
see are really attractive to people?
if you are going to apply a strategic risk reversal to your offer, and again, it works best, in the scenario of a high ticket offer, 10,000 and above. Um, although I guess you could risk reverse probably any level
Yeah,
of
you
program,
really
if
could.
you wanted to, but in our world, it is in that high ticket world. The thing that you want to keep in mind, though, is that you must screen and qualify your candidates, not pitch and pursue them with this. This is not about pitching and pursuing,
Mhm.
salesy, icky, used car salesman stuff here, right? Like, this
Right.
is about screening and qualifying people for your program. Why? Because you're taking the majority of the fee for your program is linked to their results. Therefore, you must ensure that you can get them results. So that's why it's so important to understand the screen and qualify aspect of this.
Mhm.
When we do strategy sessions, we are screening and qualifying. And it truly is a screen and qualify. We're asking questions to be able to determine, can we even help this person based on who they are, their experience, where they want to go, what they're great at, maybe what they're already doing that isn't working. Like, there's so many factors that come into it. But it's really about screening and qualifying because, and I've been on strategy sessions where the person is not ideal for this because I can't see a path for them because they're not, maybe they just don't have the level of
Commitment.
no ability to get someone results, right? Like,
Mm.
if I don't see that, then I'm not willing to take on the risk, if you will, in a
Yes.
risk reverse program
Yes.
that 87.5% of the fee for our program is linked to their results if I don't see a path where they can actually accomplish it. So it's important to understand the concept. And the byproduct of that, the positive byproduct of that is that if you're someone who doesn't like sales and you just like, oh, I don't like to do sales. Well, now guess what? You don't even have to do salesy, icky things. You get to stand in a place where you get to do screening and qualifying. And not everyone who you talk to is going to be qualified for your program.
Mm-mm.
And you'll be able to say with confidence, you'll turn them away. But do it in a nice way. Usually what would happen is I might have other resources I could provide that person, or maybe, it could be a recommendation to work with someone else, or give them ideas or strategies on what they need to fix first, or what they need to focus on before they're ready for our level.
Yes. I love that. Yes, and it is you interviewing them as well as
Yes.
them deciding if they're going to work with you. And
Correct.
I believe that this pre-qualification is so, so very important, because who you have in that program is going to impact the other people you have in that program.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have somebody who's really dragging their feet or resistant to your coaching, who's not being coachable, that's going to impact others. I've found this in my program, and it's a frustrating situation when you have that happen and you have somebody being resistant. And it does rub off on the other folks too. So it's very important that you, again, I'm coming back to association and proximity, that you have people in there who are going to really take the coaching and move forward and implement. They're going to use the structure that is there, and it really truly is something that they desire to create, and not just something that is a happy dream, right? Because we can all have our little happy dreams about, I dreamt I'd be on Broadway when I was younger, and then I realized, oh, this is really not a lifestyle that I would want. And so we can have our happy dreams, and it's okay to have the happy dreams and let them be dreams. But when you really are talking about a business, you're going to need to surround yourself with people who have gone where you want to go, and people who know how to get you there. I just came up with an acronym that I love, Sheryl. You were talking about mentorship and, what did you say, skills, and then the third thing, accountability. That is
Accountability.
essential.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So mine used to be TACC. I would always talk about training, accountability, coaching, and community. But I just got the brainstorm of, it's really tactic. It's tactic. It's training, accountability, training, accountability, coaching, tailored solutions, implementation, and community.
I love it.
Those are the 6 pillars of my program.
I love it.
And those are all essential. And it's so important to understand the structure and the environment, you all listening, that will be conducive to your success. And not everybody can work with everybody. That's the other thing. We all can't, I'm up in people's faces, and I take on stuff. And for some people, that is not going to be I'm just going to blurt out what I think, and that's not going to be the way that they want to operate. They may want a more analytical approach, or they may not be willing to take the coaching. Who knows? But there is a program for everybody. Now, what do you think when you're looking for people? Who are your ideal people, Sheryl? Just so that the people who are listening may say, well, that's really me. Huh.
I mean, for us, it's the person that really essentially wants to have it all. They want to be able to make good money, but have more life at the same time. That there isn't a need to have to sacrifice your life in order to make a lot of money. And most of the people that we work with and that we would want to work with aren't necessarily driven by money. They want it. They know they need it. Why? Because they're able to have a bigger impact with it in the world. That's really who we attract and who we love to work with. They're people that aren't, they don't want to not have money, because they see that can have a bigger impact on themselves, on their family, on their community. Maybe they have maybe they want to start a nonprofit or support a cause. The one of the things that we do in our program is called the the strategic philanthropy workshop. And the whole concept of that is that the workshop is built on choosing a charity or a nonprofit that you support through the registration of your workshop. And so it's that kind of thing. We're not so much the people that, we're not into bro marketing. We're not into Lambos and renting a mansion and cheddar and what I mean? And then the guns, the money guns. And
you're not going to wear like 10 gold chains, Sheryl? Are you kidding?
I'm just not. I'm just not going there. It's not about the flashiness. Mm-hmm. Certainly people in our community, speaking of community, like you said in your acronym of TACTIC, which I wrote down, I love, by the way, people in our community, they like nice things, but not driven by that being the motive behind it all. They're really more motivated by changing the world in some way, shape, or form, right? Being able to have an impact on the people that they serve, which is typically why people they want to get into coaching, consulting, and being an entrepreneur, because there's a desire inside their heart to be creating something that contributes to society, that moves things along the path, instead of just sort of staying back and going, I guess this is the lot in life I've been given, and I guess they want to take action and be able to change something for the better, right? And so we call them dolphins, right? The dolphin entrepreneur. In our world, it's the people that are giving and want to have more life and more profit at the same time.
I love that, the dolphin entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard that.
Yeah.
That's a term you all created? Yes.
Well, it's a Tomism.
It's a Tomism. I was going to say, I don't think now, okay, so I'm not going to tell you about the creepy experience I had dolphin swimming, but
I don't know. We have time.
Actually, I think that maybe the listeners are like, well, we want to hear that one. Okay, I'll give y'all a short version of this. I'd always wanted to go swimming with the dolphins, always. And I ended up somewhere in the Bahamas. I don't even remember where I was. And I was doing this dolphin swim. The water was murky. That was the first weird thing. And I've always adored dolphins. Even did a book report on sonograph and dolphins when I was like in 6th grade. Loved dolphins. And then there was this dolphin that came up, and literally it was like this facing me. All right. And it looked at me and it grinned. And Sheryl, I was so freaked out. Right. And then I go up and the trainer's like, oh, well, it didn't have a piece of something in its teeth. And I said, I don't know. I didn't want to get that close. And he said, he was just wanting you to take it out. That's how they play with you. He liked you. I was like, I don't think that's happening. Anyway, it sort of took away the romance of the dolphins. I still love watching them. But when you are beside that creature that is so very large, and it's like with its little tail up looking at you, it is an intense thing. But dolphins are beautiful, miraculous creatures. So I get it. I like the dolphin awareness, and dolphins play in packs, which I think is so important.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That whole notion of community. So, by the way, you all, if you don't know Tom, he has a great sense of humor. Tom Matson he has a wonderful sense of humor.
Yeah, and he has some great stories that
he does.
Again, I don't do them justice. They're not my stories to tell. You have to come to either come to the event. You'll hear him tell these stories.
You'll hear the stories,
which are hilarious.
And he has a great sense of humor. So you will be entertained while you are also informed. Well, I know it's about time for us to wrap up here, Sheryl, but you have given us so much to think about in terms of creating guarantees that are not based on what everyone has done before, and that these are based on risk reversal, so that the person signing the agreement and the person providing the service or the program, or the entity providing the service or program, they're taking equal risk, right? They're in this together. They're working together to create the results that are promised, which is very, very important, because as you and I both know, the result record for programs is abhorrent online. It's about 3% for most online programs. 3% of people have results. And so having a risk reversal guarantee like this is going to change that. It's going to change that hugely. So I know that you have something free to offer everybody. So why don't you tell them what it is, and then I'll tell them where it is so they can go access it.
We have an ultimate directory of podcasters, and it's a collection of categorized podcasters with stages for you to get on for free so that you can build your authority, build your credibility, be featured on other people's shows. 958 is where we're at in 2024 with how many listings are in the directory. And so you can download this as a resource for yourself to get on those stages. And it's one of the best lead magnets in the industry, especially in the podcasting, but I think maybe even in the industry overall, because it's so valuable, right? To be able to go and download it and be able to categorize it. We've even gone so far as to create an interactive version of it. So it's like a flip book, right? And you can get that. So you get the directory, then you can also opt in if you want to get, you are opted in, you just click a link, but you get the interactive version, and it flips and it's all hyperlinked and you can check all the categories, et cetera. It's very, very cool. And then what that does is it also opens up a whole world of opportunity for people of other resources we have within the ICONMAKER world. But that's a great place to start, is the ultimate directory of podcasters.
Love that. And you all, this is going to be available. You've heard me talking about our exciting vault that we have, and now it is live, and we will be getting this one up there included in the vault. The freebie vault has over 50 amazing gifts from incredible guests who have been on the Bold Badass Business Show for the last year. We're about to celebrate the year anniversary. Woohoo!
Congrats!
Woo-hoo! I'm excited. I can't believe it. The year has gone quickly. But you will go to bit.ly, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, as in Dr. Barnsley. All right. So let me repeat it. bit.ly/free from Dr. B. Just put all of that with no spaces in between, and that will guide you to the vault. And the great thing, you all listening, is that maybe you missed an episode. Shame on you. Maybe you missed an episode. But the good news is that even if you missed that episode, you will still have access to all the gifts. And it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts that are going to help you create a business you are proud of that serves the world. Because that's what we're all about too, Sheryl, on here. It's all about the big-hearted entrepreneurs who want to create lasting positive change in the world. You know, the life that we lead, the business we create, are going to leave a legacy. And the question is, what kind of legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to leave a legacy that continues to support and uplift and prosper people? Or do you want to leave a legacy of pain and suffering? Let's not do the latter, y'all. Okay.
Let's not. Let's do the former.
Let's do the former. Choice A, choice B, let's choose A. So thank you so much for coming on, Sheryl. And one more quick question. Let's say somebody has a show and they want to send it to you to be in the podcast directory. How can they reach out?
Yeah, we actually have a place. I don't have the link handy right now, but if anyone is interested to email, you can email me, Sheryl@iconmakerlive.com. Just send me a message just saying, how do I get in the directory? There is a link. It's just not a easily shareable link verbally, right? It's a longer one, but I can send you the link, and then you would simply submit either your own show, or if you know of someone who has a show that should be in the directory, you can either, do it on their behalf or share the link with them. We're always happy to take other shows into consideration for future directories.
That's fabulous, Sheryl. And are you including, I'm assuming you're including video shows and not just audio shows? You have a variety of,
yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And different categories, different subcategories. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful. So you all be sure, if you have a show or you know of a show that needs to be in the podcast directory, and I just realized I need to have my show in there, Sheryl. If you have a show or know of a show that you really enjoy, send it to them, because as she said, they have 958 at this moment. That's great. And I'm sure there are many more worthy shows out there who deserve to be in that ultimate podcast directory. Sheryl, you've given us so much to think about. Thank you for being here. I love what you're doing with the risk reversal, and everybody listening, share this. Give it love, give us love, make some comments. Don't be an internet voyeur. We can see you. And I will see you back for Bold Badass Business every Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. In the meantime, be bold, be a badass, and know that you matter and your mission matter on the planet.